Welcome back. President Trump ordering a new round of strikes against Iran in retaliation for Tehran's failed missile attack on American forces last week. Iran reportedly receiving Chinese-made shoulder-launched missile systems as it attempts to rebuild its military capabilities. The potential weapons transfer raising new questions about Beijing's role in strengthening American adversaries. It also is deepening its ties with Russia and with North Korea, fueling concerns over a growing alignment of nations challenging American interests, some describing it as, quote, the axis of aggressors. Joining me now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And I want to get your take on this Reuters report that China is sending these new missiles to Tehran. Your thoughts?
Good morning, Maria. Xi Jinping has been more aggressive than he has been at any time during his reign, which started in 2012. And we're seeing this not just with regard to Iran and these 400 shoulder-fired missiles. It's across the board, whether we're talking about the South China Sea, East China Sea, or other things. And I think that this shows what you've been talking about for quite some time, and that is the disarray in the Chinese political system. It is not able to respond to President Trump's gestures of friendship, his attempts at personal diplomacy with Xi Jinping. Nothing is working. And that means we're going to have a wholesale reassessment of our relations with China, because what we're doing right now just is producing the opposite results of what we want.
Yeah, and I wonder if that Iran and Russia sanctions bill is going to pass the Senate before the recess. I mean, the House in September had up to 100% stacking tariffs on countries that provide weapons to Iran. And that certainly would be a big, a bold move if, in fact, that were to pass. What are your thoughts?
Yes, we absolutely have to do this. But the other thing that President Trump must do right now is to block all those routes between China and Iran where China could deliver those man-pads, the shoulder-fired missiles, which means not only blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and the Mandab El Dab, but also he needs a no-fly zone over Iran, because we saw Chinese military transports land in Iran after turning off their transponders during the course of the war, plus also those land routes. Now, we took down a bridge that connected Iran to China, but we also saw the Iranians rebuild it. So we need to cut those routes, because we cannot allow the delivery of those weapons that will be used to kill Americans.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that Iran is going to be getting these Chinese shoulder-launched missile systems in a number of weeks, according to Reuters. So, you're saying it doesn't matter what President Trump and Xi Jinping agree to? It's sort of like a machine. It's just going to keep on going, supporting Tehran in China?
Yeah, well, President Trump can try all he wants, and he's done he's given off-ramps to the Chinese leader. The Chinese leader is not taking any of them. And that means there has to be a change in President Trump's policy, because although he would like to have this accommodation with Beijing, right now it's just not possible. I think that there is so much trouble inside the Chinese military, particularly. Xi Jinping has configured the political system so that only the most belligerent answers are considered acceptable. And that means we've got to recognize that we're dealing with a China that we have not seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and they're competing with the U.S. on so many levels. Now we understand, according to the Wall Street Journal, that China is rapidly closing the space race gap with the U.S., expanding its satellite network, its military capabilities beyond Earth. There's a new report from the Journal finding China is making major advances in satellite technology and boosting its ability to gather intelligence, maintain communication, support military operations. China's latest ambitions highlighting concerns about America's long-standing advantage in orbit, with direct implications for U.S. military superiority, Gordon. This is something we have also done so much on. The fact that space is a national security and military issue. That's where our satellites are. Is China gaining an advantage here?
Well, China has had an advantage for a very long time in low Earth orbit. And that's the fault of a series of American presidents who have decided not to press forward our defenses in space, because they felt, well, we were leading in space, and so therefore we shouldn't create this race. We can entice the Chinese and the Russians into good behavior. But no, while we sat on our hands, the Chinese and Russians developed all of these space weapons that can take down our assets in low Earth orbit. And we're now trying to catch up. So clearly, we see President Trump do all that he can to close that gap with China. In general in space, if you're talking about the race to the moon or the race for the moon, we're well ahead. But the point is, where it counts in low Earth orbit, we could lose all of our assets. And the great thing is that we now have SpaceX Constellation. And that's important because that's going to be hard for the Chinese and the Russians to interfere with.
Meanwhile, the U.S. is targeting a fast-growing Chinese technology, humanoid robots, now banning imports of these robots over national security concerns. Beijing, meanwhile, reportedly building its own technology ecosystem to reduce reliance on foreign innovation. Gordon, what's your take?
Well, we're ahead, and we shouldn't be helping the Chinese. And the Chinese can only compete with us if they have, for instance, NVIDIA's chips. So we should not be giving them export licenses for the H200. This is important. In humanoid robots, the Chinese are ahead of us, and we cannot allow them into our country because we know that China, with a flip of the switch in Beijing, can turn these robots into soldiers and saboteurs. So, yes, we've got to keep them out of our country.
Wow.
We can do this, but we have to have the political will. And thank God for Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, for that rule he issued on Tuesday.
It's unbelievable that with the flip of the switch, Beijing can direct those humanoid robots in America, and who knows what kind of chaos that they can sow. It's just like the electric vehicles coming from China that Senator Bernie Moreno is worried about. He wants no Chinese vehicles, whether electric or not. He wants no Chinese vehicles in the U.S. because he says that Beijing can control them. And if we were in a conflict with China, they can direct those vehicles to go create chaos in America, go, run people down, go smash into buildings, etc. Same thing with the humanoid robots, Gordon.
Well, absolutely. Chinese EVs and connected vehicles are rolling spy machines, as they're called. They transmit all that data back to China, and because they're connected, they can do what you just said, Maria. They can cause accidents. They can roll over cliffs. They can do all sorts of things if they're connected. So, it's important that the Biden administration, just as it was going out, issued that rule about connected vehicles, prohibiting them from the United States. That's a great move. We need to actually further enhance those rules. We got to keep Chinese cars off of our roads.
Yeah. All right, Gordon, great to talk with you. Just extraordinary. Gordon Chang, thank you. We will see you soon.